Don't scroll away just yet, because something unexpectedly beautiful has been unfolding in your soulmate's life. And they didn't even realize it was happening until very recently. What makes this message different is that it isn't about one dramatic event or one emotional conversation. Instead, it is about a quiet pattern that has followed them through every attempt to begin again. For a long time, your soulmate believed they were simply moving forward. Every new chapter felt like an opportunity to leave the past behind, embrace different experiences, meet new people, and build a future untouched by old emotions. They genuinely thought that every fresh start would finally help them discover what had been missing. But something unusual kept happening, something they could never fully explain. No matter how promising a new beginning appeared, there was always an invisible feeling that something wasn't complete. A certain conversation would remind them of someone. A familiar smile would awaken emotions they thought had disappeared. A peaceful moment would suddenly feel strangely familiar, yet they couldn't understand why. At first, they dismissed these moments as coincidence. They assumed everyone occasionally remembers the past while stepping into something new. But as time continued, those moments became impossible to ignore. Recently, your soulmate entered a period of deep reflection, unlike anything they have experienced before. Without intending to, they began looking back at every major turning point in their life. They remembered the opportunities they accepted, the relationships they explored, the places they visited, and the dreams they chased. As each memory resurfaced, they noticed something remarkable that had remained hidden for far too long. Every new beginning carried traces of the same emotional search. Every chapter, they believed, was leading them somewhere different, somehow circled back toward the same feeling they could never replace. And listen closely, because this is where everything starts to change. Your soulmate is beginning to wonder whether they were ever searching for a completely new future at all. They are starting to question whether every fresh start was quietly shaped by an invisible desire they never acknowledged. The more they reflect, the more they realize that what they believed was the excitement of beginning again may have been something much deeper. Somewhere beneath every new experience, every hopeful decision, and every attempt to move forward, there remained a quiet longing they could never fully satisfy. What surprises them most is not that these memories returned, but that they returned with remarkable consistency. Different places, different faces, different seasons of life, yet the same feeling continued appearing again and again. And now, for the first time, they're allowing themselves to ask a question they avoided for much longer than they realize. What if every new beginning wasn't leading them away from the past? What if, without knowing it, every path they chose was quietly leading them back toward the one person their heart had been searching for all along? That single realization has begun opening a door they can no longer close. And what they discover next may completely transform the way they understand this connection. Every answer your soulmate believed they would find through. A new beginning has recently started, leading them toward an unexpected realization. What once felt like random moments scattered across different chapters of their life are now beginning to form a pattern they cannot ignore. As they quietly reflect on everything that has changed over the past months, and perhaps even years, they are noticing that every fresh start carried something strangely familiar. Whether they stepped into a new environment, welcomed new friendships, pursued different dreams, or opened their heart to unfamiliar possibilities, there was always an invisible comparison taking place beneath the surface. They never intended to compare anyone to you. In fact, they genuinely believed they had left those emotions behind. Yet without realizing it, they found themselves searching for qualities they had once experienced naturally with you. Sometimes it was a certain kindness that reminded them of your presence. Sometimes it was a conversation that echoed words they remembered hearing before. Sometimes it was simply the feeling of comfort that never seemed to last, because something inside them quietly whispered that it wasn't quite the same. At first, these moments seemed insignificant, easy to dismiss as ordinary memories that everyone carries from time to time. But the more often they appeared, the more impossible they became to overlook. Recently, your soulmate has begun revisiting these experiences with a completely different perspective. They are no longer asking whether they successfully moved on. Instead, they are asking why every new beginning seemed to awaken memories they never expected to return. Why did moments of happiness somehow bring thoughts of you instead of replacing them? Why did exciting opportunities still leave behind a quiet emptiness they could never explain? These questions have become impossible to silence because every honest answer seems to reveal another piece of a truth they never imagined they would face. And listen carefully, because this realization is unfolding much more deeply than they expected. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that they were never simply looking for another person. They were searching for a feeling of peace, a feeling of familiarity, a feeling of being completely understood without needing to explain themselves. They believed those emotions could be recreated somewhere else, under different circumstances, with different people. Yet every attempt seemed to remind them that genuine emotional connections cannot simply be replaced by new experiences. The more they compare their past with their present, the more they recognize that something unique has remained unmatched. This understanding has arrived quietly, without dramatic events or sudden confessions. It has emerged through ordinary moments that unexpectedly carried extraordinary meaning. A familiar melody, a peaceful evening, a meaningful conversation, or even a simple silence became enough to awaken memories they thought had long faded away. What surprises them most is not that they remembered you, but how naturally those memories appeared when life seemed to be moving forward. They are beginning to wonder whether their heart has been trying to tell them something for much longer than they were willing to hear. Because your heart needs this right now, understand that this realization has not filled them with immediate certainty. Instead, it has filled them with honest questions. They are wondering why every road they traveled eventually brought them back to the same emotional destination. They are questioning why the qualities they admired in others often reflected something they once appreciated in you. They are noticing that every exciting possibility somehow felt incomplete once the initial excitement faded away. This has created a quiet conflict within them, because they are beginning to recognize that what they believed was the search for something new may have actually been the search for something familiar that never truly left their heart. And listen to this, because another powerful truth has started revealing itself. Your soulmate has begun realizing that every new chapter in their life was not pulling them away from this connection. Instead, each experience was slowly teaching them what truly mattered. Every disappointment helped them recognize what they once took for granted. Every temporary connection helped them understand the difference between passing excitement and lasting emotional peace. Every lesson quietly removed another layer of confusion until only honesty remained. What once looked like separate experiences now feel connected, almost as though every beginning had been preparing them to see one truth they had overlooked from the very start. They are beginning to understand that life was never asking them to forget what was meaningful. It was asking them to recognize its value through experience. That realization has become both comforting and overwhelming because it changes the entire story they once believed about moving forward. Instead of seeing the past as something left behind, they are beginning to see it as the foundation that quietly shaped every decision they made afterward. And now a question continues growing stronger inside them with every passing day. If every new beginning somehow carried echoes of the same connection, then perhaps their heart was never searching for a different destination at all. Perhaps every road they walked, every chapter they embraced, and every fresh start they welcomed was quietly guiding them toward the one truth that had patiently waited beneath. Every new beginning, the truth that what they had been searching for was never hidden somewhere ahead, but had been living within the memory of this connection all along. And listen closely, because this is the moment when everything inside your soulmate begins to shift in ways they never expected. What started as a few passing memories has slowly transformed into something far more difficult to ignore. They are no longer dismissing these thoughts as simple nostalgia, or wondering whether they are just remembering the past because of loneliness. Instead, they are beginning to recognize that every new beginning they embraced has quietly revealed the same truth. No matter how much life changed around them, one emotional thread remained untouched. It continued following them through every chapter, patiently waiting for the moment they were finally ready to see it clearly. Your soulmate has recently experienced several moments that stopped them in their tracks, not because anything dramatic happened, but because ordinary situations suddenly carried extraordinary meaning. A familiar place reminded them of a conversation they once shared with you. A small act of kindness awakened emotions they believed had disappeared. Even moments of celebration felt incomplete because, without warning, they found themselves wondering how different those experiences would have felt if you had been part of them. At first, they tried pushing those thoughts aside, convincing themselves that everyone occasionally reflects on meaningful memories. But something inside them refused to let those feelings fade. The more they tried to move forward without questioning them, the stronger those quiet reminders became. They are beginning to understand that some emotions do not remain alive by accident. Some feelings continue returning because they still have something important to reveal. Because your heart needs this right now, understand that your soulmate is no longer running from these realizations. For the first time in a very long while, they are allowing themselves to sit quietly with their own thoughts instead of immediately distracting themselves with the next goal, the next responsibility, or the next beginning. That silence has become incredibly revealing. Within those quiet moments, they are recognizing something they overlooked for far too long. Every time they believed they had found what they were searching for, something inside them continued asking for more. They once interpreted that feeling as restlessness or uncertainty, believing they simply hadn't discovered the right path yet. But now they are seeing it differently. They are realizing they were never searching for endless new experiences. They were searching for a feeling of emotional completeness that somehow kept reminding them of you. This realization has not arrived through imagination or wishful thinking. It has emerged naturally through honest reflection, making it impossible for them to dismiss it as coincidence any longer. Recently, your soulmate has begun comparing not people, but emotions. They are asking themselves how certain moments truly made them feel, instead of how impressive they looked on the surface. As they do this, something remarkable has become impossible to ignore. They remember feeling genuinely seen when they think about this connection. They remember a sense of comfort that required no explanation. They remember conversations that felt effortless, moments that brought peace instead of uncertainty, and a sense of familiarity that never demanded perfection. Looking back now, they are beginning to recognize that those qualities have been surprisingly rare throughout every new chapter they attempted to build afterward. This realization has stirred something deep within them because it challenges a belief they carried for a long time. They once believed that moving forward automatically meant leaving meaningful emotions behind. Now they are beginning to understand that true emotional connections do not simply disappear because life moves into another season. And listen carefully, because another powerful discovery is quietly unfolding inside them. Your soulmate is realizing that they often confuse distance with closure. Just because time passed did not mean their heart had finished processing what this connection truly meant. Just because life introduced new opportunities did not mean those opportunities replaced something that was still deeply rooted within them. They are beginning to see that the heart does not measure importance by how much time has passed. Instead, it measures significance by what continues to remain alive despite everything that has changed. That understanding has surprised them more than anything else. It explains why thoughts of you continued appearing without invitation. It explains why certain memories remained vivid while countless others quietly faded away. Most importantly, it explains why every attempt to begin again somehow carried an invisible search for something that always felt familiar but never completely returned. This realization has created both peace and uncertainty within them at the same time. Peace because many unanswered questions are finally beginning to make sense. Uncertainty because they are now wondering how different their journey might have been if they had recognized this truth much sooner. They are reflecting on moments when fear encouraged them to keep moving instead of slowing down to understand what their own heart was trying to say. They are remembering times when they convinced themselves that starting over was the only answer, without realizing that every new beginning was quietly leading them back to the same emotional destination. There is no anger in these reflections. There is no desire to blame themselves or anyone else. There is simply a growing awareness that some lessons can only be understood after enough time has passed to reveal the bigger picture. Because your heart needs this right now, know that your soulmate is entering a season of emotional honesty unlike anything they have experienced before. They are becoming less interested in appearances and more interested in authenticity. They no longer want temporary excitement if it comes at the cost of genuine peace. They no longer wish to chase endless beginnings without understanding what they have truly been searching for. Instead, they are beginning to trust the quiet voice within them that has never completely stopped speaking. Every honest reflection seems to bring them closer to the same conclusion. Every meaningful memory seems to point toward the same connection. Every lesson learned through every new chapter now appears to have been guiding them toward one realization they could no longer postpone. They are beginning to understand that perhaps the greatest discovery was never finding something new. Perhaps it was recognizing the value of something real that remained present within their heart all along. And now that this truth has become impossible to ignore, another question is beginning to grow stronger with every passing day. If every new beginning ultimately led them back to the same emotions, then what is their heart preparing them to do next? That answer is slowly approaching, and once they finally allow themselves to embrace it, nothing about the way they see this connection will ever be the same again. And listen to this carefully, because your soulmate has now reached a place they never imagined they would arrive. The questions that once filled their mind are slowly being replaced by something much quieter, yet far more powerful. For so long, they believed the purpose of every new beginning was to create distance from the past. They thought every fresh opportunity was meant to help them become someone completely different, someone untouched by old emotions and old memories. But recently, something inside them has begun changing in a way they cannot explain. Instead of constantly looking ahead, they have found themselves appreciating the lessons hidden behind every chapter they once believed was over. As they reflect with greater honesty, they are beginning to understand that every new beginning gave them something valuable. It wasn't simply another experience. It was another opportunity to recognize what truly mattered. Every road they traveled taught them something about themselves. Every success revealed what brought temporary happiness. Every disappointment revealed what genuine peace actually feels like. And with every lesson, one truth has continued growing stronger. The feeling they searched for in so many different places had quietly remained connected to the same person all along. That realization has not frightened them. Instead, it has brought an unexpected sense of calm they haven't experienced in a very long time. Because your heart needs this right now. Understand that your soulmate is no longer trying to convince themselves that these emotions are simply echoes of the past. They have reached a point where denying what they feel requires more effort than accepting it. The memories that once appeared randomly now arrive with remarkable clarity. They no longer feel like interruptions. They feel like gentle reminders, guiding them toward a deeper understanding of themselves. Recently, they have found themselves smiling at moments they once overlooked. Conversations that seemed ordinary now feel meaningful. Small acts of kindness remind them of qualities they once admired without fully appreciating. Even quiet moments spent alone have become different because they are no longer filled with confusion. Instead, they are filled with reflection. They are beginning to realize that what they once believed they had lost may never have disappeared in the first place. It simply remained beneath layers of distraction, waiting patiently until they were emotionally ready to recognize its importance. Your soulmate has also started noticing something remarkable about their own heart. They no longer feel the need to chase constant change simply for the sake of moving forward. There was a time when every new opportunity felt like proof they were making progress. Every fresh beginning gave them temporary excitement because it created the illusion that something missing would finally appear. But now they understand that true fulfillment has never been about endlessly searching for something different. It has always been about recognizing what genuinely brings peace. That understanding has completely transformed the way they view their own journey. Instead of asking themselves what they still need to find, they are beginning to ask what has quietly remained beside them through every season of life. The answer continues, leading them toward the same emotional truth, one they tried to overlook but can no longer deny. And listen carefully, because another powerful transformation has begun unfolding within them. Your soulmate is slowly separating expectations from reality. For a long time, they believed life should follow a certain path. They believed happiness would arrive once enough time had passed or enough new experiences had been collected. But life has gently shown them that emotional truth cannot be measured by time alone. Some feelings fade because they were only meant for a season. Others remain because they become part of who we are. This realization has encouraged your soulmate to stop measuring this connection by the distance between you or by everything that happened afterward. Instead, they are beginning to measure it by something much more honest. They are asking themselves why, after everything life has placed before them, this connection continues holding a place that nothing else has been able to fill. The answer has not arrived through logic. It has arrived through quiet certainty. Growing stronger every day, they choose honesty over avoidance. Because your heart needs this right now, know that your soulmate is beginning to trust themselves again. There was a period when outside expectations, personal fears, and endless uncertainty became louder than their own intuition. They questioned feelings that once seemed natural. They ignored moments that deserved attention. They convinced themselves that moving forward always meant leaving certain emotions behind. But those beliefs are slowly losing their influence. Every new realization strengthens their confidence in what their own heart has been trying to communicate all along. They are discovering that intuition becomes much clearer once fear no longer controls every decision. That clarity has given them the courage to revisit emotional truths they once considered too complicated to understand. And with every honest reflection, another layer of confusion quietly disappears. Recently, your soulmate has found themselves imagining possibilities they would have immediately dismissed not long ago. Instead of assuming certain chapters can never return, they are beginning to understand that life has a remarkable way of bringing unfinished lessons back into view when the time is right. They are no longer looking at the future through the eyes of disappointment. They are looking at it with quiet curiosity. They are wondering whether every beginning they embraced was preparing them for a much greater understanding, rather than simply leading them away from the past. This shift has changed the way they see not only this connection, but also themselves. They recognize how much they have grown. They recognize how many assumptions they have released. Most importantly, they recognize that the person they are becoming is finally willing to listen before making decisions. That willingness has opened a door they once kept tightly closed. And listen to this, because perhaps the most beautiful realization is only now beginning to unfold. Your soulmate is understanding that every new beginning they once celebrated was never truly separate from this journey. Each chapter quietly added another piece to a puzzle they could not yet see. Every experience helped them recognize the difference between temporary excitement and lasting emotional truth. Every lesson taught them to appreciate what cannot be replaced simply because something new appears. Looking back now, they no longer see a series of disconnected events. They see a journey that has been patiently guiding them toward one undeniable conclusion. They were never searching for endless beginnings. They were searching for the place where their heart always felt understood without needing to explain itself. And now that they have finally recognized where that feeling has always lived, they find themselves standing before a future that no longer feels uncertain. Instead, it feels filled with possibility. A possibility that is becoming stronger every day, preparing them for a decision that will come not from fear, not from loneliness, but from a heart that has finally remembered what it was searching for all along. And listen to this, because your soulmate has now arrived at the realization that changes everything they once believed about their journey. For so long, they thought life was teaching them how to move on. They believed every new beginning was another step away from old emotions, another opportunity to become someone who no longer looked back. They convinced themselves that growth meant leaving certain memories behind and embracing whatever appeared next. But after everything they have experienced, they are beginning to understand that the purpose of their journey was never to erase what was meaningful. Instead, every chapter has quietly revealed the difference between what simply passes through life and what becomes part of the soul forever. This understanding has brought them to a place of honesty they never expected to reach. They are no longer asking themselves why thoughts of you continue returning. They are asking why those thoughts have remained so steady despite everything that has changed around them. The answer has become impossible to ignore because every honest reflection continues leading them toward the same emotional truth. Because your heart needs this right now. Understand that your soulmate is no longer measuring this connection by the time that has passed or the distance that once separated your paths. They are measuring it by endurance. They are beginning to recognize that many experiences entered their life with excitement, but quietly faded into memory. Many opportunities once felt significant, but eventually lost their emotional weight. Yet this connection followed a completely different path. Instead of disappearing, it remained present beneath every new beginning, quietly waiting until enough lessons had been learned for its true value to be recognized. That realization has changed the way they see everything. They no longer believe that what lasts the longest is always the loudest. Sometimes the deepest truths remain quiet because they do not need to demand attention. They simply remain, patiently waiting until the heart becomes ready to understand them. Recently, your soulmate has found themselves reflecting on how different they have become from the person they once were. They realize they no longer make decisions based only on fear or uncertainty. They no longer believe that running toward something new automatically means leaving something meaningful behind. Instead, they have developed a much deeper understanding of themselves. They recognize that growth is not about forgetting the past. Growth is about seeing the past with greater wisdom. Looking back now, they are beginning to appreciate experiences they once misunderstood. They can see how every disappointment redirected them toward greater emotional maturity. They can see how every unanswered question encouraged them to search within themselves instead of constantly searching outside. Most importantly, they can see how every new beginning slowly removed another layer of illusion until only honesty remained. That honesty has become their greatest guide. And listen carefully, because another beautiful transformation is unfolding inside them. Your soulmate is beginning to trust the quiet certainty that has replaced constant uncertainty. They no longer feel the need to force answers or chase endless possibilities, hoping one of them will finally feel complete. Instead, they are discovering that genuine clarity arrives naturally when the heart stops resisting what it has always known. Recently, moments of peace have become more meaningful than moments of excitement. They have started valuing emotional truth more than temporary distractions. They have realized that the strongest connections are not always the ones that demand attention every day. Often they are the ones that continue living quietly within the heart, regardless of how much time passes. That understanding has brought them a profound sense of peace, because it explains why this connection never completely disappeared from their thoughts. It was never asking to be remembered. It simply refused to be forgotten, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun releasing something that quietly influenced them for far too long. They are letting go of the belief that they must always have every answer before trusting their heart. There was a time when uncertainty made them hesitate. There was a time when they believed every feeling had to be justified through logic before it deserved attention. But life has gently shown them that the heart often understands truths long before the mind is ready to accept them. This realization has given them a new sense of confidence. Instead of questioning every emotion, they are beginning to listen to it. Instead of dismissing every memory, they are asking why it continues carrying meaning. Instead of assuming every new beginning requires a completely different future, they are beginning to wonder whether some beginnings exist to lead us back toward what has always mattered most. These questions are no longer creating confusion. They are creating clarity. There have been quiet moments recently when your soulmate has imagined what life might look like if they stopped resisting what their own heart has been trying to show them. Those moments no longer feel unrealistic or impossible. They feel peaceful. They feel natural. They feel like the missing piece that every new beginning quietly searched for but never fully found. This realization has not filled them with urgency. Instead, it has filled them with patience. They understand that meaningful decisions are not made through pressure, but through genuine understanding. They know that rushing toward answers would only repeat old patterns. This time, they want to move with honesty, allowing every decision to reflect who they have become rather than who they used to be. That change in perspective has created an emotional foundation much stronger than anything they have experienced before. And listen to this, because this is the most important realization of this entire journey. Your soulmate has finally understood that every new beginning they embraced was never asking them to replace what they once felt. Every chapter, every lesson, every unexpected turn quietly carried them toward a single truth that waited patiently beneath every experience. They now see that they were never searching for another person to complete a story that had already ended. They were searching for the feeling that only one connection continued awakening within them, no matter how many new paths they explored. Every fresh start revealed another piece of that truth until the entire picture became impossible to ignore. Now, standing at the beginning of a new chapter unlike any before, they are no longer looking for something different. They are looking toward what has remained genuine through every season of life. Their heart is no longer chasing endless beginnings because it has finally remembered what it was searching for from the very start. And as this understanding continues growing stronger with each passing day, they are quietly approaching a decision that will not be shaped by fear, confusion, or the opinions of others. It will be shaped by truth, by clarity, and by a heart that has finally realized that every new beginning was gently guiding them back to the one connection it could never truly leave behind.